Hello everyone! Welcome to the 39th episode of Talking Times. Today I'm here with Dado Oliveira, hello man, and we're gonna have an amazing conversation about money in the financial system. So if you have questions, bring them on, but right after our podcast intro. Hello Dado, welcome.
Hello, thanks for having me here today.
Man, it's a pleasure. Before we start, man, would you mind starting off introducing yourself to our listeners?
Sure. Hello everybody, I'm Dado. I'm very happy to be here today. I am 38 years old and I work as an accountant. My area, I am a specialist in technical accounting for international business, and I think that's about it. And I'm here today to share a little bit of my story, the story of my life, and how I ended up working this field, which is very fascinating and which I love very much.
Man, I have a lot of questions as we were chatting before, but I noticed you have a very nice English, man. I heard you were an English teacher before.
Yeah, that's true. In the past, I had worked as an English teacher, and back in my days, working as an English teacher, I had the opportunity to develop my speaking skills, also learning and connecting with different people, learning from their background, improving my not only speaking abilities, but also how to handle different situations in classroom, explain complex topics in a simple and easy way. So that was a very great experience when working as an English teacher.
All right, that's really reassuring because I'm gonna need you to explain financial stuff to me as I was 5 years old, okay?
Okay.
One thing that I got from my mother and my grandmother too, she started saying, it sounds obvious, but this is lifetime advice, guys. Is never spend more than you earn. That makes sense, right?
Right, that's the first tip, so number one.
Okay, and do you still deal with people, man, on the financial world as much as when you were teaching, or is it a very different world now?
Actually, it is very similar, and I think for me, teaching English was fundamental to be where I am right now, because I had to deal with people from all over the world and different backgrounds. Most of people, they don't have background in financing or accounting, so I have to explain finance and accounting rules to people from marketing, from sales, and also even for people in the finance area which have a higher, I would say, position than mine. But since I'm a very specialist in technical matters, it's my job to explain that complexity in an easy way that people can understand, like they were like 5 years old. That's something that they always asked me to explain them.
Man, and we are dealing with money, so I imagine there's a lot of pressure too, and people, if you have something that people care about in this world, especially in the corporative world, is money and profits and earnings. Do you miss teaching?
Yeah, I do. It was a great time, although I still have the same kind of feeling dealing with a lot of people. Teaching English was great for me because I connect with so many different students, and I had the opportunity to explore topics that on my regular days I don't do this anymore. So even from vocabulary to exploring and explaining situations that I never thought about, the English books would bring me topics and some challenges as well, which were very fascinating for me back in days.
Did you have conversations talking about finance with them as well?
No, not at the time. I remember one time, I think a few times I had to explain some financial topics for my students, and I was struggling with the words. And even nowadays, I realize in the real world, people, when you can learn English, but financial language is something that's financial. I think it's a new vocabulary. So it's not like I don't know English, or even if you're speaking financial language in Portuguese, we have our own vocabulary.
No, it makes total sense.
That's something that we need to be aware about, because when you start learning English, sometimes you kind of feel you don't know a lot of words, but it's not your problem you have. It's just something that's different, and they have their own world.
No, Dado, this is very good advice. If you are an English student, I had some students from the law area, and whenever we were doing something specific, I used to say to this student, okay, man, now is your time to teach me. Because I'm an English teacher, but it's like reading a contract in Portuguese. Sometimes there are some terms and the whole term knowledge is like, what the hell is written here? And then the student will say, no, teacher, this is like, if you do this, this is gonna happen. So it's not a level of English speaking skill, it's a context vocabulary.
Right, yeah.
And okay, if somebody is interested in the financial world and wants to understand as an English speaker, what would be a good way to go? Reading books, watching, I don't know, podcasts? What would be a good channel to practice?
Well, I would recommend social media at first, and we have very good ones, especially if you go on Instagram or YouTube. You can find channels where we have some influencers teaching how to deal with finance in basic levels. You can even look for example, on YouTube, English or finance for beginners, and then they would have.
That's my book.
Yeah,
finance for dummies.
And you're gonna find a lot of videos and also topics from all different places in the world, even in English, in Portuguese, or any other language you want to learn.
Oh, this is very interesting. And for people who are interested in having their own companies and being a global company, so they would have clients from abroad, your area is fundamental, right, in the company.
Right, yeah. It is very important to have especially a strong team, finance team that is available, actually able to work with accounting and also with finance. Although people think finance is just and accounting are the same thing, they are more like complementary fields, I would say. On one hand, you have accounting, we have actually finance field working to get profit for the company, exploring markets and trying to get as much as revenue as possible, and also getting shares in the market to make the company, I would say, richer as much as possible. And on the other hand, you have the accounting team in accounting areas controlling everything, getting to know what's happening, how much money we have, how much expenses we have, and creating balances, like how much debit and how much credit we have. And this is important because once the owners or the director of the company, they want to take some decisions, we say that the accounting team is the responsible to provide quality information to take the appropriate decisions.
Okay, so the way you are describing, correct me if I'm wrong, man, sounds like on the daily basis, in practical terms, the two departments sometimes have like conflicts. One wants to get in the throat of the other.
Yeah.
Investor here, no, wait, see.
Yeah, especially when you are inside of the company and depending on how the company wants to present itself to the world. So let's think, for example, when you get out of your house, normally you get dressed and you try to present to the world the best version of yourself.
Okay.
So does the company. So the company wants to show to the investors beautiful numbers, great results, high profits, and I would say that would be fantastic, but I'm an accountant and I stick to the rules. I like standards. I am very conservative. So when I look into details, the financial transactions, I kind of go one by one and checking if they are presenting properly. So sometimes we want to show a better profit, but they forget to include some costs, which would reduce your profit.
Man, that's very interesting. So I was thinking in the RPG alignment, all the nerds will get this reference. So the accountants are the lawful good. So you have to be analytical, control everything, abide by the law to avoid fraud.
Yeah.
And the other department, the financial department, would be more like the chaotic goods. Like, okay, let's do it. Spread this and that. Say,
they're like the motivated ones.
Yeah.
They're very excited.
Man, very interesting. So exactly, they have to work as a partnership. All right. Oh, before I forget, let me take a look at the chat here. All right. Hello. Oh, hi, Kaveh. Kaveh was here a few episodes back. Okay. Hello, No Code Business. Hi. Okay, hi Fabiano. Hello Guilherme. Hello Mariana. Okay, hi Neves. And hello Jose. Hi guys. If you have any question about that, just bring them on. Dado, how was the transition from an English teacher working in this financial environment?
Well, I would say that was the craziest thing that I've done in my life, but it actually was like connecting the dots, thinking about my skills and things that I liked. And it was back in my teaching days, I loved teaching. I loved kind of looking into complex subjects and explain them in a simple way, but I also love to read finance magazines and read about financial markets. And there are some specific magazines that would kind of expose successful cases from professionals in the finance field, in the finance area, and I got super inspired by their stories, and I started wondering, wow, how would that life feel like? So, and I kind of picture myself dreaming about being living financial style, I would say financial industry lifestyle, and I felt like, well, I think I should explore a little bit of this interest. And like at some point I just decided, you know what, I'm gonna take a class or short-term courses to learn a little bit about this world in the depth. And that's what I did. I took two classes actually, one for business administration and another one for accounting for not accountants.
Okay, that sounds
Which
nice.
is great because they teach the basics of accounting and also they give you an overview of the financial world. And once I did that, I got super inspired and fascinated by the entire thing that I was learning. And I decided to go deep on that and go full on my degree in accounting.
So your first graduation you mentioned was in literature.
Yeah. At first was literature, and then my life was kind of my journey was not like a straight line journey. It was a very kind of complex journey. I started with literature. I loved because I love dealing with people. I love reading. I love writing, and I would say the teaching area is somehow fascinating to me. Being able to share knowledge is something that I really love about it, love doing. And then when I finished my first college, I moved to the US to live as an au pair, where I lived for 2 years with an American host family, and I had a great time with them. I had the opportunity to work as a classroom assistant in a kindergarten school, taking care of like 5-year-old kids.
So that's why you're so good in explaining stuff like that. You had the everyday practice. It makes total sense. No?
So I think for the entire year, I was handling 40 kids running the room, and I had this teacher that I should help her, but sometimes I could cause more problems than helping. It was a very good time. I loved that time.
Man, that's interesting. And you stayed with the same family the whole process?
Yeah, the entire process. And actually, I just got invited because the host kid I took care at the time, he was 14, and now he's 34. And he just invited me to his wedding this year.
Oh, so, that's beautiful, man.
Yeah, so we still have some connection, and that's very good to have them in my life.
That's very nice. So another life lesson here, right? So you explore different fields until you find your own passion, something.
Right, yeah. I actually think I didn't feel comfort. I didn't feel like I should stop at some places that I would have achieved until I felt really comfortable. So every step or every, I would say, degree I would get higher and higher, I would feel like, well, that's better than where I was, but I still want more. So, and I still have a lot of curiosity, and I want to explore different fields, make sure, am I going in the right place? And since I didn't have a lot of guidance, I kind of had to do everything by myself. I felt like, let me explore here, let me explore there. And nowadays, I remember one time I was looking for a job, and there's this consultant that told me, like, well, your resume is not very good because you start languages and then you went to accounting and then you have this and then you do technology as well.
Oh, like, you were there as well.
Like, you don't know where you want to go. Well, I want to go everywhere. So, and nowadays I feel like everything that I did helped me to be where I am. So
yeah, I think like this, it shows that you are a versatile professional. and depending on the area, it will fit like a glove. Like, oh, I need somebody that can adapt. So, and that doesn't have problem going out of the comfort zone too, right?
Yeah.
And what would you say to people that want to start in this field? Maybe, are there any shortcuts that they could do?
Yeah. I would recommend, especially short classes. There are a lot of good entities, or I would say schools for business and also for international business. If people are interested in to take only few hours of class and learn about, is this really what I want to learn about more, or kind of picture their lifestyle in this new area. And if they can go, I love social media, so they can go to social media and look for a lifestyle of famous people in the field they want to explore more. That's something very good. There is some kind of trend in the YouTube videos, like a day in accounting. A day in like law school or something like that. So you can, people kind of, they record their entire, they vlog their daily routine. They post on YouTube and explain like, oh, I wake up this time, I do this, I go to work, that's what I do at work, then come back. And you see on YouTube from foreign people, especially the Americans love doing that. So you have a lot of information out there.
That's interesting. And is it a field that is difficult to start working? Because right after you finish your degree, how was it to find your first job in the area? Was it hard, and where should people go today?
Yeah, I think it was hard transitioning from teaching to finance. So companies were still struggling, like with my resume. I felt like, well, I don't know if this guy is qualified. Like, why is he doing here? So I took opportunity. What I did was, my differential was the ability to speak English. So I thought, well, that's something that I'm trying to use as my, a special ability. Nice. And I went to international companies. So I started like with journey positions, like more junior positions, like a level 1 entry position, and they would test me with English and ability to deal with problems, which I already had. So they gave me this opportunity. So the first one was a big international company like IBM.
Oh,
and
man.
then after that, they like opened the door and the world is like mine.
Man, how was the job interview there? Were you nervous?
And I was super nervous because I didn't know how to deal with the, would say, office environment, like laptop computer, phone calls, and having meetings the entire day. That was something new to me, different from being in the classroom. And then I also had some English tests, which was a great part for me because I felt like I'm talking to a friend. So just let's have a conversation. And I think I did well at the time. So they hired me, and I had a great time working with them. They taught me a lot. The team was great. So when I was in the world, I just realized, wow, this is fascinating. And that's what I want to do the rest of my life.
Man, that's amazing. And after IBM, you worked in several other companies, right?
Yeah, I worked for basically only international companies, never worked for a national one. But I worked for General Electric as well. Then they sent me to Mexico.
Damn.
Yeah, so being able to speak another language, they kind of put me in international projects, and they say like, well, now you're gonna help here, and I had to deal with people from India, Mexico, Canada, US, so it was great. And then they sent me to Mexico for 1.5 years, where I also had a great time living with them and working at GE.
Man, and having this background, did you feel any cultural shock about the way people see and deal with money in different places, different nationalities?
Yeah, totally. I would say like Brazilians were kind of free care.
Okay.
We should
so
care a little bit more. Yeah, we spenders. Yeah. We don't really think about saving first and then expanding later. That's something that other cultures, they kind of start their basic financial life doing that.
Ah, okay. Yeah. I saw a stand-up from an Indian comedian, and he was making a joke that basically like, this type of culture, people spend more, Indians are very cheap, like we like to save money, and he's Indian, so he's saying, people say that I'm cheap. I do not say cheap, I say smart. And he was like that.
I agree, totally agree.
So it's really fascinating because you knowing how to speak English, and it's not because it's an English school podcast, but it opened many doors to you.
Yeah, it is true. And also, I think if you don't settle down for basics, for something that you feel it's not sufficient for you, just keep on going. Work harder, go further, and believe in yourself. If some people say to you, "Oh, you should stop trying," don't listen to them. Just keep on going. So, like behind you, you see dream world. keep on dreaming. I think that's
nice. And is it very different the way the international companies deal with the financial department compared to Brazilian ones? Because I don't know, the impression that I have is we have too many laws here and it's very bureaucratic. Are there softer places to go?
Yeah, it's different, but also the reality, we have to deal with all of them at the same time. So, for example, Brazil has its own regulation, especially when it comes to accounting standards. The US have their own regulation because they are, for example, very conservative, and they like to have their own rules. So companies, if they want to have, for example, their shares in the market in the US, they have to follow the US GAAP, which is the United States General Accepted Principles. And the other, I would say, the rest of the world, they were very smart. They created their own language, I would say. They created something called IFRS, which stands for International Financial Reporting Standards.
IFRS.
Correct. And this language was developed due to some situations. For example, France is close to Germany, which is close to Italy, but each country had their own rules, their own language, their own, I would say, places to go. And so people from Italy will have a hard time investing in Germany or in France because of the accounting language difference. And then they created this new super project called IFRS, which standardized the financial language for companies. And the whole world, including Brazil, accepts it.
Man, that's amazing. Oh, yeah. Come on, way simpler too.
Yeah.
So it was like the bridge so companies could interact and do business.
Exactly. So if you have Brazil GAAP, like we say, the Brazilian GAAP, you follow like federal revenue here in Brazil, the regulation, but the company is able to have an open shares in the international market. They can report in IFRS, and if they decide to go fully on the US, then they have to do the US GAAP. In my experience, normally companies want to do everything. So what an accountant has to learn and how to handle, it needs to handle the three of them. And it's kind of routine for an accountant, especially as international standards.
So you are not a lawyer, but you need to be aware of every new change that happens, any new law or any new system.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you want to work with that, you have to study a lot.
Well, listening podcasts helps a lot as well. I have these big four companies we call big four because they are the four the biggest audit companies, and they have very good podcasts. They provide guidance because they go into the standards, which are the accounting laws, and then they provide step by step. They explain. They have these materials, colorful, easier to understand in a simple way, but also they have their podcasts where they can explain verbally and give some examples for people to understand. Amazing. And it's great. It helps me a lot.
No, it makes total sense. Guys, some questions here for you, Dado. Wait. Okay. Sorry, man. The first one from Isaac. Hi, Isaac. Another amazing guest we had here. Dado, how can I optimize my personal income tax return? Very simple question.
Well, that's a trick question.
Moment, I'm gonna take notes too.
Yeah, people ask you. I think that's the first question every accountant gets.
Starts with your family members, right?
Yeah, family member.
Oh, man, come here.
Yeah, well, since I'm an accountant and I'm very conservative, I don't like giving advice on that matter. But I would say if you were organizing your finances, you can explore the opportunities to have like a return when you are doing your presentation to the to the government. For example, if you have expenses with medical matters or educational, it can help you. Or even if you have children, family expenses, you can create this declaration in your annual, I would say, closing for your revenue in the government system, and that helps a lot. Sometimes you can get like a higher refund due to those declarations.
So don't do tax evasion.
Yeah, don't do, guys. That's not.
And you have to keep track of everything. Right?
Yeah, if you keep track on everything, you have revenue. But some people, they forget they have expenses. And what the government does, they give you an opportunity when you're doing your annual reporting. You can actually provide information for like, well, I did have revenue, but I also had costs, so I should be taxable on this net value. And the government gives us this opportunity. And sometimes people, they don't use it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's essentially the same that companies should do, right? In a simple way.
Right, yeah.
That's your daily fight, daily struggle.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
hey, but you forgot you had this expense here and all of that.
Yes.
Man, okay, another one from Neves now, or Neves. About financial management platforms. How should I know if the platform is being responsible about the data I'm adding there? Oh, it's a good question, Neves.
Well, that's a good question, especially when it comes to technology nowadays has become very popular. Companies are going online. I think should be aware which type of the company you are contracting your services from. If you're a company regulated by Central Bank of Brazil, you can be 100% sure and like free of worries that you're gonna have a problem, because Central Bank of Brazil have a very strict regulations. And then they require a lot of reports. They do a lot of analysis. They do a lot of audit to the company processes, the company reports. So it's very, I would say impossible, but it would be the company will have a lot of trouble if they want to give like wrong information or trying to fraud anything.
Okay.
And for accounting firms, you need to be aware who is the accountant responsible for the balance sheets signatures, because this person is gonna have their registration in the system, and they are gonna be the technical responsible for the numbers. So it's something that you can look it up as well.
Is not impossible to check if the company is for real, not like we were joking here about the tiger game.
Yeah. The little tiger game. But
don't play the little tiger game, guys.
That's not a recommendation.
Okay. A very interesting question about Marcel. I wish I had my tinfoil hat here. Imagine I am wearing a tinfoil. I'm gonna have a zombie apocalypse type of question to you. I always do this, I like with my guests, but Marcel is asking, Dado, how sustainable is the modern economy? What is our financial system based on?
Well, that's a good question, especially because I think the last 13 years up to now, Central Bank of Brazil has been creating a lot of regulation and opportunities as well to make the Brazilian financial market more competitive. Before, we had only big banks in the area giving like accountings, loans, and financial services. And recently, you have seen a lot of payment institutions which were more like considered our digital wallet, and they provide a lot of financial service as well, making easier for population to handle their money, to send money, pay bills. You can use your apps in your phone, and all of that has been in the past like the dream goal of Central Bank in Brazil, to kind of create this competition between banks and new business, especially fintechs, which they are coming with a lot of energy, a lot of I would say desire to help people create safe environment, but also interesting environment. And since fintechs are coming with this big dream, I think they kind of give more interesting I would say products to the clients over there.
I remember, it's very funny, every time we have a technological innovation, we always have people like twisting their noses, and I don't know, when they started doing Pix in Brazil, for example, and people are, oh my God, don't do this, you're gonna, I don't know, scam you, you're gonna lose your money, you know. But scams has always been around, every innovation people have to be aware. And I asked you before we started the broadcast, how social media and the internet changed how you do your work in the field. Was it like a big revolution, or people were kind of expecting something like that to happen?
No, there was a big revolution, especially when it comes to accounting and the controlling aspect of the area. People back in my early days in accounting, they wanted to see receipts printed out. So you have to print the receipts, kind of have the stamp on them. Oh, and sign it's approved, it's a reject. Like, oh man, why we are doing that?
A lot of paper.
Nowadays, with technology and also with I think the evolution of society in general, we have even the regulations have improved, and we have like a safe digital environment. So for companies financial reporting, they're able to provide it in a digital form. They don't need to kind of print them out and send to central bank or to any regulator officer anymore. So the technology has helped a lot of our financial world.
Okay, I remember that I got so happy when I did the tax declaration, and I could do it on the app, and was like, oh my god, I have a cousin who is an accountant, and I used to talk to him, man, can you help me to do this, the tax declaration? And then he says, oh Mike, use the app. And then it was basically to keep track of everything. And then you just submit the form, and it was very simple, What would you say to people that want to start investing, for example? So they want to know and use this new technology. I mentioned the direct treasure that I heard, and some people would like, just buy cryptos, or some people say, buy NFTs, this type of, things that we see online. But talking from a more conservative and mid-long-term plan, what would be a good way to start investing? Because, for example, I don't know anything about that. I have friends who invest, but what would be a good way to start, man?
I think a good way is a safe way. So to be safe, I would start especially with this direct treasury investment. Because once you invest in the government bonds, they are the safest investment right now. Although it sounds more like a retirement type of investing. Because you're going to take 10 to 15, sometimes to 25 years to get your payment back. But still, I would say the interest that you're going to have back on this investment is something very interesting. And I would say it's a great way to start because it doesn't demand a lot of money to start investing. People can start investing start from 30 to 35 reais. You are able to start investing in them. So it's a good way to start. Monthly payment? No, monthly payment. You can put as much today, 35 reais, and just next year or whenever you have a chance to.
You don't need to follow a strict date.
Exactly.
It's flexible. That's nice. So for example, you got the 13th payment. Instead of spending it all in carnival costume and drinks. I would say devil drink. There is this drink from Carnival called capeta here that people. Anyways, but don't drink the devil drink. Invest. That's very interesting. Some questions from the chat here. I'll try to read them all today. Okay. Fabiano is asking here. That's a nice investment. He's asking, how can I get one of these nice mugs? Send a message to Times. There is Times Instagram, and who knows? Sometimes they give some for people that are nice. Okay. Diego's asking here. Oh, hi Aline. How is this financial lifestyle? Okay, the lifestyle of somebody who works with finance, I guess. So you do your own hours, you have to be in the company, you can be a digital nomad.
That is a great question because it has changed so much in the last 2 years, especially after the pandemic area. Before we used to dress formally, go to the office, bring your computer and everything, have your
suitcase,
9-5 working hours. That was typical, like in the movies, you see an accountant different.
Okay, the
lifestyle.
stereotype.
Yeah, nowadays I am 100% remote, so I
Man,
don't
that's
have
amazing.
like a place to be anymore. The company decided to kind of give up on the building in Faria Lima, for example, and now they gave us an opportunity to connect in an app. Which allow us to have co-working environments all over Brazil and Argentina,
Man,
because the
that's
company
amazing.
was already from Argentina.
The Faria Lima, I remember. Faria Limers.
For Limers, yes, yeah.
So
the
now
blue for Limers.
you can work out of, I don't know, in any country with a laptop and...
Yeah,
that's
there's
it.
this guy from for the company where I work for, and he and his wife, they decided to start driving. They kind of got this super big van. They equipped with a lot of living utensils and things that we could survive on the road. And they decided to start driving from São Paulo and go to Uruguay. So they come from São Paulo
that's a
up
lot.
to the northeast of Brazil, and then they drove all the way to South America, actually Argentina, and then they went out to Uruguay by driving. And I felt like, wow, it took them, I don't know, because he was like updating us like in this daily vlog every day. Guys, I'm safe, I'm working from the beach. Once he told us that he
Laptop,
and his wife
coconut water.
met like a couple on the beach, and they became friends, and these people hosted them for 2 weeks.
Damn.
And they didn't have like, we're not in a rush, it's just an adventure. So nowadays the lifestyle, it's like more in your hands. You do how you feel like now it works better for you.
Man, that's really, really interesting because people have this impression that to work remotely, you need to be from IT, for example, but actually you can do it in many, many areas.
Right.
That's very interesting. Today you work like that, remotely as well?
Yeah. I live in São Paulo, but I was working here. And on Monday, for example, I was working in this super old house from 1930. So they were like from super rich family, and they decided not to put that down and create a building.
Okay.
So now they use as a co-working space.
It's
and when
not
you
the
go
one
there,
in Paulista Avenue, is it?
It's very close to that. So
Ah,
yeah, it's just I think one street behind it.
I may have seen them. Whenever I drive in São Paulo, sometimes I notice this contrast, like the skyscrapers and then this it looks like a small castle. this type of houses.
Exactly. A small castle.
Nice,
That's the
nice,
definition.
man. Okay, another a very interesting question here. 2024 and Bitcoin is getting crazy, Selic tax going down. Which kind of investment do you recommend the most for this season? Okay, I think it would be related to maybe a quicker income, not like a long-term
Investment, yeah. Well, I would not recommend Bitcoin or any kind of crypto currencies, but not because it's I have something against it. It's just because my field, my area is very conservative. And I only can give opinion when we have like standards, account standard written and approved by federal government and I would say regulator officers.
Okay.
So since it's still under their regulations being developed is in development, I would not give a word about it.
Okay.
But if you are investing, the Selic going down it's a good thing. It's something positive, but still be careful. We are not in our best position. We have been better in the past. So if you want to invest, just make sure which is the real returning rate on your investment. Sometimes they the marketing department makes like, oh, you're investing, you're gonna have 10% back and in a very short time, but when you realize at the end of the day that's not real. So because you have something
not
called
a scam, but they kind
interest, real interest rate. So you have which is the final one. So it's very important to consult I would say the bank or the application or the investment service that you are kind of thinking about.
Okay, so don't be too excited or emotionally moved.
Yeah, because you say investing, you have basically two basic standards or options. Either you have high risks, and then you go to the market and you invest in private companies.
Startups, true.
Startups, exactly. We have like fintechs, but you're putting your money at risk. So the return is higher. If you have like a safer investment, the return is lower. So that's basically the logic of life.
I feel you mentioned social media, and for me it's very confusing sometimes. You enter on Instagram or TikTok, you will see maybe an ad, 30-40 second ad like this, the guy and this whiteboard, and then, well, I started with this, and then I did this, and then like I got 1 million.
Yeah, never trust on that.
Oh, that's what I want to hear. Thank you so much.
Please don't be fooled.
So it is basically an easy way to sell a dream, but there's no shortcuts like that.
Exactly. There's no shortcuts. You gotta either work hard or you're gonna face risks. So.
Okay, clash of reality right at our faces, guys, because man, you always have a financial coach, something like this, and it looks like, because I got 1 billion, 1 million, and you can get 2. If I could, you can. Come on. Okay, good to know, man. Thank you so much for that. Okay, Flavio, how much difficulty is to work with people with different English levels? You mentioned Indian, Argentinians, and you worked with people from all over, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's a good question, but I think, especially nowadays, working remotely, we have a lot of conference calls, so face-to-face, and we also have chats that we can type up some words if you don't understand, or if even yourself, if you have some difficulty finding the right word, you can use it. But what I do, normally I exchange first emails. I try to get, if I am kind of uncomfortable or if I feel like I would not understand what people are asking to me, first ask them, can you please send an email of the background, what are the contexts of what's happening? And they're like, okay, I got it. So if they have some strong accent and it's difficult for us to understand, when you're connecting the topic to people's voice, we are able to create a connection and understand what's happening.
It's exactly what our cortex does. So once you understand the whole context, the connecting the dots will be easier.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. What I would do to improve my listening, whenever I want to, for example, focus in one specific accent, I would go to something that I like, but in the cultural context. For example, I like games, so I would see a streamer from the country that I want to get used to the accent talking, because it's very carefree, and you will accustomate your brain to kind of reading that pattern of speech, So it's something you can do. It could be a movie, could be series, could be a gaming channel, somebody streaming, could be a TED Talk. I have difficulty understanding people from Scotland. Me too. But you get the news in Scotland or something like that. So get yourself accustomed with the accent,
One thing that I like to do is go on TED Talks and look for the jokes. They have the kind of fun and jokes area, and they have amazing intellectual jokes. So sometimes the first time I listen to them, I so what's funny about it? And they're like, okay, I connect dots. So and it's help us because TED you can have the subtitle helping you to understand what they're saying, and then like you said, you train your listening. So it's a great tool as well.
Do you have, you mentioned the au pair friends, do you have friends from other countries?
I had this cluster in Michigan where I lived, and we were formed by people from Brazil, but was like South Africa, Germany.
Amazing accent, by the way. South African. I love the way they pronounce the R's. It's very nice. The Oda.
They're nice. British, I think.
It's beautiful. So that's another hint. If possible, make friends with people from all over, because you get used to the accent as well. Oh, more questions here. One moment. All right. Which CPC stands internationalization of accounting use GAAP is still necessary? I have no idea what's that about, but
well, the CPCs are the gaps, the GAAP. We say US GAAP is the regulation from the United States.
Okay.
And the CPC is the Brazilian version of the IFRS.
Okay.
So like I said, the United States, they have their own rule because they don't trust anybody. If you want to have your open, you negotiate your shares or work in the American market, you need to follow my rule. Okay. The rest of the world created this international language called IFRS, and Brazil adopted it. So since the first version of it was fully in English, Brazil, what we did, especially the accounting officers here in Brazil, they translated and they created our own version of it, and we call CPC, which is like a Comitê de Pronunciamentos Contábeis. So that's its initial for.
So basically, you have to be open and study a lot about that as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Isaac asked here, this year is the year I hit the jackpot. Thanks for the hint, Dado. Okay. I would ask this question. Thanks, Flavio. What are the best places or channels in general to know more about financial stuff, in your opinion? I mentioned these kind of scammers that we see, like, become a millionaire, but what would be good to, I don't know, channels or people to follow that you would recommend?
Yeah, well, first of all, if you need to kind of search the background of people you're interested about learning with them, because it's difficult to say just follow this person or this channel.
Okay.
I love actually looking to a CNN channel because they have their financial division. We have like news from politician world, but also they have their financial division of podcasts and also videos on YouTube. We learn what's happening in the world in real time, but when it comes to learning basics, I think podcasts is still the best way to start, because normally they give beginners advice, and you kind of create your, you kind of grow in your knowledge. Just listen. Every episode you listen, you learn a little bit more, and you can listen like as many times as you want. So it helps you. Okay.
Now, something that we mentioned here many times, can you please explain to us the difference between like a payment institution, financial institution, accountability, all the areas there?
Yeah, sure. I mean, simplifying the whole context, we have basically two big pictures. Okay. We have the financial institution and we have the payment institution. Financial institution are the regular banks, like I would say the old ones, like Santander, Itaú, all of the big ones. And the payment institution are the new characters or the new players coming, like you have this digital wallet, they have digital services, you can send money, you can pay bills. You use it's like you're having a digital wallet. They have both their super strong regulation, but they are different. And banks they have more space in the market. They can offer products that payment institution cannot. So, for example, loans. Bank can provide you loans as a service, financial service, but we working as a payment institution, we're not allowed to provide that. So that's one big difference.
Yeah, so you will not be hiring a shark loan. So don't worry.
Yeah.
Okay, I give you this money, but you have to pay me in 1 day.
Yeah, it's not like the illegal loans that
exactly.
Get killed.
Run from that, guys. It's an illusion. All right. How many different areas can a professional in your field work, Dado?
It's very flexible. We can work not only in accounting, but we have the treasury team. We kind of controls in every day how much money the company receives and the bills that the company has to pay and provide, and creates this transaction. The bank, I'm like, I'm sending you the pics, I'm transferring the money, I'm paid, the installments of my credit card. I would say bill. And everything is controlled by the treasury team. But we also have the accounting area, which I'm part of. We have tax team, which is responsible for tax, especially when it comes to international companies. We have tax in Brazil, so we have tax in Argentina and tax in the US. And the people that work in the area need to be aware of everything what's happening. The same way I am in accounting, they have to do for tax laws.
Okay.
And also they have, I think the most interesting area in finance, which is not mine, unfortunately, is controllership. Controllership is super fun. I think it are the people that are free to desire and dream of a brilliant future. And
so that's a beautiful way to sell the profession.
Yeah. I'm like, well, all my friends that work there, they're super nice people. I love them. Nice. I'm like, well, I think it's a characteristic. Like to work in the controllership, you must be cool.
Man, because controllership, I imagine, because of the name, like, no, don't do that.
Yeah, no,
it's quite
actually
the opposite then.
Exactly, and they kind of create, they explore markets. They dream about a lot. They dream big, and they have a lot of projections. They need to be able to create different scenarios. For example, in the company I work, they need to create the best scenario, the okay scenario, and the worst scenario. So before you're doing an investment or before we launching a new product, we kind of have to map all these situations. Like, well, if it goes super good, we're gonna be here. And if you do okay, we're gonna be here. And if you don't do okay, you're gonna be down here.
So you have to research a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot of research, and I think it's up to date information, and you need to be. I think you need to be up to date and read a lot and understand what's going on in the world to be successful in your position.
It's not what you do exactly. What do you do in your company exactly?
No, I'm more like I control everything as well, but I make sure the transaction we're doing, people are dreaming, and we go, well, let's go back to reality.
Okay.
So wake up. And what I do is actually checking the financial transactions in the company, making sure all we do is following the regulation, which is very important, because working in a payment institution in Brazil, if we don't follow or if you break any rule, we can lose our license, and that means that we would not be able to work as a company anymore. So it's super serious. That's why I sometimes I'm not the nicest guy in the company. People don't love me as much.
Yeah, they call me the dream crusher, but that's an exaggeration.
Yeah, but that's important. It's important to be aware of the problems you might face in the future.
You mentioned that in your company you can do many different sorts of payments in an app. How does it work?
Yeah. I work for a company that we sell ourselves as a digital wallet. So we can pay, you can use this with a lot of different functionalities. One of them, you can pay, for example, installments from any bill you have, internet bill, water bill, light bill. You can send money, like Pix in, you can receive, and Pix out, you can send money. And also another one, you can pay gas, for example, for the
nice.
For the cooking gas. There is this specific functionality that you can contact the company and they provide you gas, or you can pay your monthly bills and get cash backs.
Man, that's very interesting.
Yeah, so if you like, it's more like a lottery online in your app that you can provide a lot of payments and send money, receive money, and that's and still we try to create a lot of functionality to make life easier.
No, so for people that struggle a lot keeping track of their expenses, like, oh, I forgot to pay this invoice, oh, I forgot that. For example, that's me, by the way. I try to make everything automatic. From like my internet bill, the gym bill, everything is like going one place. So it's impossible to forget, So it basically does a little bit of that.
Yeah, it does. Okay. And it keeps on track everything you do. You have the statement, like a bank statement. You have your wallet statement showing the days, the transaction, and how you're managing your money.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay, we are starting the 2024. It's still weird for me to say that, but general recommendations that people could use, in the financial department. What could people do?
Yeah, well, I would say the first thing I think Brazil as well, in the first place, needs to start working is saving money. Okay. I know it's difficult because we live in a crazy financial situation, but if you're able to save as minimal as possible, as much as possible would be better, but a minimal, try to have like a bare minimum to start saving. Mm-hmm. There's this saying in the market that you should be able to have savings to pay for 3 to 6 months of your living expenses. So that's a good, I would say, reserve or savings for some emergency.
3 to 6 months.
Exactly.
Okay.
Of living expenses. So just do the calculation and try to create this kind of fund to be free of worries and kind of control your money. And another topic, if you're not able to save any money, you are struggling in your financial life, you can start getting advice. There is this influencer that I like a lot. Her name is Nachi Finanças. She teaches real finance for real people.
Nice.
So it's not like a big investing in cryptocurrencies or anything like that. It's more like how you manage your short money until the rest of the month. And which bills should I have? And you kind of look at your lifestyle. What are you doing? Like, do you really need this? Or can you invest this month and the next month do that? So she gives a lot of advice for real people, and especially people struggling with financial situation.
Again, Nachi Finanças.
Nachi Finanças. We're going to have the link down here below.
That's very interesting. I used to hear about my grandparents, I remember, because, we are talking about, 60, 50 years ago. They used to say, well, safest investment you can do is buy land. If you can.
Yeah.
Have you heard this one before?
Yeah. Well, it's still kind of true. You can keep on, like, if you're able to buy land or, if you are able to buy houses and properties in general, that some sort of investment.
Yeah, and my father used to compliment that. He said, and the worst is to buy a car. So the moment you take the car out of the car dealership, it decreases.
We have like the super discussion, like fights in the financial world, like where they say property. When you have like a house, is it like investment or a liability? So people say like, having your own house is an investment. And when like financial experts, they say like, it's a liability because you pay your light bills, you have a lot of expenses on a monthly basis. So depends on your point of view.
And I think one big influence on that is the lifestyle of the person.
Right.
For example, depending if you are a digital nomad, for example, you wouldn't have a problem paying the rent, for example, because you are not in a fixed place. But I don't know, you want to have a family with 5 kids. That's rare. So maybe it makes sense to own your own place, All right, man. Thank you so much for the conversation. Let me just check the. Somebody say, not finanças, the bug in Portuguese and English. Not finanças is amazing. Atula said, I agree. I think it was about what you were saying before. Dado, thank you so much, man. It was in a flash. Final recommendations and anything you want to say to our viewers?
Well, thank you very much for listening, everybody who joined us today. And if I can give you advice, never stop dreaming and never stop learning. That's going to take you someplace out there you're never going to believe later.
Man, I'll give you, I don't know if you have an Instagram account or TikTok that you do this, but you explain things in an easy way to understand. That's a person that doesn't know anything about that. So you could start doing that as a hobby, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I'll keep that in mind.
Okay.
Maybe in the future. But thanks for the advice.
See you. Thank you so much, man. Guys, thank you so much for the questions as well. Don't forget, like this episode, share with your friends, and I hope to see you on our next episode of Talking Times. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.